Have you ever felt that quiet tug, that unspoken longing for something more than the everyday?
Mm.
That deep, fundamental human quest for meaning that kind of whispers, there must be more to life than this.
Oh, absolutely. It's a feeling that resonates with so many of us, isn't it?
It really is. A universal impulse, I think you'd say.
Definitely. One that has driven human civilization for, well, millennia. That sense that there's a deeper truth, maybe a core self waiting to be uncovered.
Just beneath the surface of daily life.
Exactly, lying just beneath the surface.
Right. And that's what we're embarking on today, a deep dive into what we call the spiritual journey.
Hmm.
But let's maybe set aside any rigid ideas you might have. This isn't necessarily about specific religions or, esoteric practices, unless that's your path.
Right. It's broader than that.
We're exploring it as a deeply personal thing, a transformative quest.
Hmm.
It's about reconnecting with your innermost being, maybe discovering your authentic life purpose.
And seeking a profound understanding of existence itself. Yeah.
What's really essential to grasp, I think, is that this journey isn't like a destination you arrive at.
No, not at all. You don't just check it off a list.
Right. It's a lifelong process, really. It's a cumulative experience of growth, healing, enlightenment, maybe.
That's constantly unfolding within you. Yes, exactly.
And a fascinating aspect of this, particularly now in our modern world, is the shift in how these journeys happen.
Tell me more.
Well, historically, they were often, meticulously charted by established religions. You had a map, guides, a community.
A predefined structure.
Exactly. But today, it's become so much more individual, an intensely personal path, one that, as our sources highlight, cannot be organized or regulated.
Which explains the rise of that huge spiritual but not religious demographic.
Absolutely. It offers incredible freedom, doesn't it? You become like the cartographer of your own inner world.
You can blend traditions, forge entirely new paths.
But that freedom comes with a challenge,
For sure. Navigating this vast open landscape without that predefined map.
which makes personal discernment absolutely critical for you, the seeker.
You really have to trust your inner compass.
So our mission today is to unpack a really comprehensive report that maps out this often unseen path.
Okay.
We're going to look at its catalysts, what kicks it off, explore the incredible diversity of traditions, uncover the universal practices that kind of tie them together.
And understand the profound benefits, but also the inevitable challenges involved.
Exactly. Think of this deep dive as your shortcut, maybe, to understanding the rich, complex tapestry of human spirituality.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Well, if this deep longing resonates with you, you might wonder, where does this journey actually begin?
Right. The starting point.
Our research shows it often starts not with a deliberate choice, not really, but as a response to an inner or outer call.
Ah, like Joseph Campbell's hero's journey archetype.
Exactly like that. You're
Yeah.
sort of summoned to leave the familiar, venture into the unknown,
And confront those inner monsters.
which are essentially your own, unconscious blockages or shadow aspects.
Yeah. So this impulse, this call, how does it usually show up?
Well, it can manifest in several common ways. You might experience an existential crisis.
That quiet but persistent sense of meaninglessness.
Yeah, or a longing for something elusive. Maybe even bouts of melancholy that just make you think there has to be more to life than this.
That feeling of a gap. I get that.
Or it could be quite different. A spiritual awakening.
Okay, like a sudden expansion of consciousness.
Yes. Sometimes disorienting even. The report mentions it can be accompanied by strange synchronicities, signs, omens, things that totally challenge your normal view of reality.
Like the universe suddenly starts winking at you.
Exactly. Showing you things you hadn't noticed before.
And that often marks a point where the old self starts to shed, right? Making way for something new.
Precisely. And speaking of shedding, this profound internal shift can sometimes lead right into what's known as the dark night of the soul.
Ah, from St. John of the Cross, the 16th century mystic.
That's the one. It describes a really profound period of spiritual desolation.
And it's crucial to understand this isn't clinical depression, right? Though it can feel incredibly painful, confusing.
Absolutely. It's described as a deep purification, a stripping away of old self-concepts, attachments.
Leading to feelings of helplessness, maybe being utterly alone.
Yes. And what's really striking and kind of paradoxical is that this painful process can actually follow a period of spiritual joy or illumination.
So it's not necessarily a step backward.
No, it serves as a crucible for ego death, burning away what no longer serves, allowing a more authentic self to emerge.
A necessary deconstruction, then, for a deeper connection.
Exactly. It burns away the ego's attachments, purifying the soul.
Makes sense. Are there other triggers?
Yeah, finally, just major life transitions. Things like moving, changing careers, starting a family. These can provoke deep introspection too.
Those moments of big change often force you to reevaluate what's truly important.
Definitely. So once you've received that call, whether it was subtle or, dramatic,
Hmm.
it helps to have some kind of map, even if you end up forging your own path.
Right. Some sense of the terrain.
And while every spiritual journey is intensely unique, our sources reveal they often follow common developmental stages. It's not just random wandering.
Okay, so there is a discernible pattern of growth, even across different experiences.
Seems so. Which raises the question, what do these inner maps look like?
Let's explore that. The Christian mystical tradition, for instance, outlines a classic threefold path to union with God.
Okay, what's the first stage?
It's catharsis, or purification. This involves confronting what's maybe traditionally called sin, or you could frame it as engaging in shadow work.
So exploring those repressed parts of yourself,
Mhm.
detaching from unhealthy attachments.
Exactly. Think of it as clearing out the old stuff, making space for the new, a vital clearing process.
Got it. What comes after catharsis?
Then comes theoria, or illumination. This is where you gain a deeper understanding, a felt sense of the divine.
So moving beyond just thinking about it.
Right. Moving into more receptive, silent contemplation, experiencing it more directly, gaining deeper insight.
And the culmination.
That's theosis, or union, a state of profound spiritual union with God.
But not like annihilation of the self.
No, not annihilation. It's described more as an indwelling, where your life expresses divine will, embodying both your human and divine natures, a transformative integration.
What's really revealing here, for me, is how these ancient mystical stages seem to parallel modern psychological models,
Yeah.
like James Fowler's stages of faith development.
Oh, that's fascinating. How so?
It shows this isn't just some, esoteric religious concept. It seems deeply tied to universal human maturation.
Interesting. So Fowler's stage 4, individuative reflective, often happens in young adulthood, right? Marked by intense questioning of inherited beliefs, authorities.
Yes, deconstructing that conventional faith. It directly mirrors the mystical stage of catharsis, doesn't it? Purging old structures and assumptions.
It really does. And then his stage 5, conjunctive, describes embracing paradox, complexity, finding wisdom in other traditions.
That sounds incredibly similar to the illuminative stage, where the more nuanced, expansive understanding starts to emerge.
It does. And finally, Fowler's rare stage 6, universalizing. That's characterized by a life dedicated to selfless service, universal compassion, pursuing justice.
A lived expression of the unitive stage, that boundless love and concern for all beings just flowing naturally.
Exactly. So what does this parallel mean for you, the listener?
Well, I think it reveals a universal pattern of growth. It helps contextualize difficult phases, like the dark night, not as signs you're failing.
But as necessary crucibles for profound progress.
Right. It's how the ego's attachments get burned away, purifying the soul for a deeper, more permanent connection to your authentic self.
So if you find yourself in one of those really challenging phases,
Remember, it might just be part of the map, a necessary step.
okay. So we have the architecture, the stages. What about the different roads you can take?
Right. Now that we understand the architecture of the journey itself, let's zoom out. Explore the vast world of paths humanity has forged.
There's such a rich diversity, isn't there? Each offering distinct maps, methods for navigating your inner world.
Definitely. We can sort of categorize them broadly. First, let's look at theistic and mystical paths to the divine.
Okay, paths centered on a relationship with a personal or ultimate divine reality.
Exactly. Consider the Christian contemplative path. The ultimate goal here is theosis, that transformative union with God, becoming more Christ-like.
So it's about developing an intentional personal relationship,
Yes.
rooted in ancient practices.
Yes. Things like Lectio Divina, that prayerful scripture reading, or centering prayer for silent contemplation, aiming to open the heart and mind to divine presence.
And moving east, you have the Vedantic paths of yoga from Hinduism.
Right. The core insight there is moksha, liberation from suffering.
Achieved by realizing your soul's, the Atman's essential oneness with ultimate reality, Brahman.
So the idea is that your deepest self is already one with the divine.
Pretty much. It's less striving, more remembering this truth. And this path offers various yogas or disciplines, devotion, selfless action, meditation.
All aimed at realizing that unity. Got it. What about Islam?
From Islam, we have the Sufi path of the heart. This is the mystical inner dimension focused on direct experience of God.
Okay, and the goal there?
The goal is fana, the annihilation of the ego self in God.
Like a drop merging with the ocean.
Exactly. Followed by baka, which is subsistence in God's will, living from that oceanic perspective, guided by divine flow.
Wow. How do they practice that?
Essential practice is dhikr, the remembrance of God. It can be silent or communal chanting, even that famous whirling dance.
Right, the whirling dervishes.
Yeah.
And Judaism.
Shifting to Judaism, there's the Kabbalistic path to divine oneness, sometimes called the soul of Judaism.
It seeks to understand.
Ein Sof, the infinite, unknowable God, and how creation unfolded from that infinity.
A key idea is elevating divine sparks scattered in the world.
Yes, through ethical action, tikkun olam, helping restore cosmic harmony. It involves contemplating spiritual dimensions, the sephiro, to understand divine manifestation and the human psyche.
Fascinating. Okay, let's shift gears. What about paths that are less focused on a personal deity?
Right, the philosophical and dharmic paths to liberation, often more about ethics, mental discipline, philosophical insight for flourishing.
Typical Buddhism?
Exactly. The Buddhist Noble Eightfold Path aims for nirvana, the cessation of suffering, liberation from samsara, the cycle of rebirth.
And that's achieved through understanding the Four Noble Truths via the Eightfold Path.
Yes, it's a holistic cultivation of wisdom, ethical conduct, mental discipline, not strictly linear, but a whole framework for living skillfully.
Makes sense. What else falls in this category?
There's the Taoist path of harmony. The aim is living in harmony with the Tao, the natural principle of the universe.
The key insight there is Wu Wei, right? Effortless action.
Yes, living in alignment with the natural flow, not struggling against it, balancing yin and yang.
And practices like meditation, qigong, tai chi.
All emphasizing simplifying, unlearning, rediscovering that unity with the natural order.
And you mentioned a personal favorite.
Yes, the Stoic path of virtue. Very practical wisdom. The goal is eudaimonia, human flourishing, tranquility.
Achieved by living virtuously in accordance with nature.
And the core insight, which is timeless, is discerning what you can control your thoughts, actions, reactions, and letting go of what you can't.
The dichotomy of control, built on those four cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, temperance.
Precisely. Such practical stuff even today.
Okay, so beyond these more traditional systems, there are also modern and secular paths to meaning.
Right. Frameworks for connection and purpose outside formal institutions.
Like nature-based spirituality. That seems to be growing.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Finding connection and meaning directly in the natural world. Fostering awe, interconnectedness.
It's about seeing the divine or ultimate reality reflected in the earth.
Exactly. Leading to deep reverence and responsibility. Practices might include honoring seasons, moon phases, just being outdoors consciously.
And then there's transcendentalism, that 19th century American movement.
Right. Championing intuition over strict reason, believing in the inherent goodness of humanity and nature.
The idea that individuals contain godlike potentialities.
Yes, focusing on self-reliance, communing with the oversoul, that immanent divine presence in nature. Think Emerson, Thoreau.
Finding divinity in the everyday. Okay, and finally.
Secular humanism. A life stance rejecting supernaturalism, embracing reason, ethics, scientific inquiry.
So where's the spiritual aspect there?
It lies in finding meaning through human connection, service, improving the human condition. A profound faith in our capacity for kindness, cooperation, building a better world together.
Wow, that's an incredible range of paths.
It really is. And if you step back, you see this interesting tension or maybe interplay between transcendence and immanence.
Transcendence being moving beyond the phenomenal world.
Right, like in some Vedantic or Sufi schools. And immanence is finding ultimate reality within the world itself.
Like Taoism or nature spirituality.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how some traditions, like Christianity or Kabbalah, seem to creatively balance both, seeing the divine both beyond and within.
But despite all this diversity, is there a common thread?
I think there is. A universal bridge connecting nearly all paths, the cultivation of virtue.
Ah, right. Like Stoicism's virtues, Buddhist sila, Christian fruit of the spirit.
Or secular humanism's focus on compassion and fairness. It shows the journey isn't just internal.
It fundamentally transforms how you live and relate to the world.
Making you a more compassionate, ethical human being. That seems universal.
Okay, so we've mapped the terrain of different traditions. Let's get practical now. The Seeker's Toolkit.
Right. Across this vast landscape, a common set of tools and practices seems to emerge, universally used for inner awareness, connection.
We can probably group them, right?
Yeah.
Inner cultivation and embodied spirituality.
Good way to put it. For inner cultivation, we definitely have the whole spectrum of meditation and mindfulness.
Mindfulness being the foundation. Paying attention on purpose, non-judgmentally.
Exactly. It's a powerful tool for self-awareness, usable secularly or spiritually.
And then there's contemplative or concentrative meditation. Stilling the mind by focusing on a single point.
Yeah, the breath, a mantra, an image, a divine name. Central to Christian centering prayer, Sufi dhikr, yoga, Buddhist meditation. Lots of traditions use this.
And of course, guided meditation with verbal instructions for specific inner experiences.
Like connecting with a higher self or something similar.
Right. Beyond just observing the mind, there's also the art of contemplation and self-inquiry.
Yes, moving into active, deep reflection. Patiently waiting for insight.
Can you give examples?
Well, Lectio Divina involves that multi-layered, prayerful engagement with Scripture to find deeper meaning. Or the direct self-inquiry question, who am I, from Advaita Vedanta.
Designed to pierce through false identities. Powerful.
Very. And another powerful, really accessible tool for anyone is journaling as a mirror to the soul.
Just writing things down.
Yeah, but it acts as a safe, private container for emotional release, processing difficulties, identifying patterns.
Resolving inner conflicts, maybe uncovering subconscious triggers.
All of that. Plus, it's fantastic for cultivating virtues like gratitude, just regularly noting things you appreciate.
Simple but effective. Okay, what about embodied spirituality? Practices engaging the whole being.
Right. The transformative power of prayer is huge and universal. Direct communication with the divine.
It can range from structured liturgy to just spontaneous conversation.
Oh, really? Used for guidance, growth, or just pouring out feelings. It fosters that deep personal connection.
And another embodied practice, very symbolic. Pilgrimage.
Ah, yes. The outer journey as inner metaphor. Think of the Hajj, the Camino de Santiago.
Undertaking a physical journey to a sacred place serves as a metaphor for the inner quest.
And the journey itself, the challenges, detours, reflections, is often as significant as the destination. It transforms you along the way.
Then there's the discipline of fasting, found across many traditions.
Intentional abstention from food or maybe other comforts for a spiritual purpose.
Seen as purification, detaching from material distractions.
Exactly. Creating space for deeper prayer, heightened sensitivity, clearer inner vision.
And finally, yoga and breathwork, uniting body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah, far more than just physical exercise. It's a holistic spiritual discipline, originally from the Vedantic tradition.
Aiming to unite the individual soul, Atman, with ultimate reality, Brahman.
That's the traditional goal. It profoundly integrates physical postures, asanas, breath control, pranayama, and meditation.
Forging deep inner integration and peace.
Right. So looking at all these practices, meditation, prayer, pilgrimage, yoga, what's the common thread?
Our sources suggest they function as a kind of positive disruption.
Positive disruption. How so?
They intentionally break your normal routines, create a sacred space, maybe a temporary vacuum.
Allowing for a new kind of awareness to emerge.
Exactly. Spiritual growth often seems to require some voluntary discomfort, stepping outside the comfort zone.
To discover new depths within. That makes sense.
And there often seems to be a natural progression too, doesn't there? From the gross to the subtle.
Ah, yeah. Like yoga, starting with physical postures, then breath, then meditation.
Or pilgrimage, using the outer journey to catalyze the inner one.
It suggests a developmental logic. Beginners might need concrete forms.
But as you mature, the focus shifts inward to more subtle layers of consciousness.
And the mature spiritual life integrates both, right? Deep inner realization and compassionate action in the world.
Beautifully put. Okay, so you've started the journey, you've got your tools, maybe found a path.
But it's rarely a smooth or solitary ride.
Exactly. Let's talk about navigating the terrain, the supports you need, the challenges you'll face, and the fruits you can harvest.
Crucial stuff. The journey unfolds in that dynamic interplay between looking inward and connecting outward.
You need both solitude and community, and often guidance.
Yes, the role of the guide is often essential for navigating complexities, getting perspective.
In Eastern traditions, you might find a guru, right? A revered master offering personalized instruction.
Yes, serving as a living example. But the goal is ultimately to awaken your own inner guru.
And in the Christian tradition, it's often a spiritual director.
A trained listener who helps you discern God's presence. Not giving advice, but helping you see. a co-discerner.
And more broadly, just a spiritual mentor, a trusted person offering encouragement, accountability.
Yeah, someone drawing from their own experience. Now, there's been a modern shift, though.
How so?
While traditional guru relationships might involve deep reverence, today there's more emphasis on seeker autonomy, personal discernment.
And the rise of online coaches, mentors, increases access, but requires more caution.
Definitely. You need to be more discerning to find someone who genuinely empowers your journey rather than dominates it.
Which raises that key question. How do you balance seeking guidance with trusting your own inner wisdom?
And finding the right rhythm between being alone and being in community, it's an essential dialectic.
Let's unpack that. The power of solitude. It's not loneliness, is it?
No, it's intentional withdrawal from distraction. For renewal, self-reflection, hearing that inner wisdom. Think of Jesus or Buddha retreating.
But then there's the power of community, the Sangha.
Absolutely essential for support, belonging, shared purpose, encouragement, accountability.
It's the arena where insights from solitude get tested and refined.
Exactly. Where inner growth blossoms outwardly through relationships and action.
I love that quote from Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
Oh, the one about, let him who cannot be alone beware of community.
Let him who is not in community beware of being alone. Yeah.
It highlights how they're mutually reinforcing. Solitude prepares you for authentic community. Community grounds your solitude. They nourish each other.
Okay. But no journey is without trials. Let's face it, the path has its perils, common obstacles and pitfalls.
For sure. Often showing up as internal obstacles.
Like doubt, samshaya, and yoga philosophy.
Exactly. It's normal, inevitable to doubt the path, yourself, the goal. But unexamined, it can paralyze you.
So the remedy is?
Cultivating a neutral witness, observing the doubts without judgment, strengthening your underlying faith or conviction.
Yet a really subtle trap, the ego.
Oh, yeah. It shows up in tricky ways like spiritual materialism.
Using practices to build up a spiritual identity, collecting experiences.
Right, or spiritual narcissism, feeling superior because of your experiences instead of genuine transformation, and just the ego's general resistance to surrender.
What other challenges come up?
Well, physical illness, mental dullness, laziness, carelessness in practice, emotional instability.
And maybe feeling lonely or disconnected from old relationships as your values shift.
That's a big one. Growth can mean outgrowing certain connections, and not everyone understands your new direction.
So when you hit these roadblocks, what do? How do you navigate them?
Well, it means embracing uncertainty, first off, building a strong support network, prioritizing self-care you can't pour from an empty cup,
And viewing challenges not as failures.
but as integral, valuable parts of the journey. Things that forge resilience, deeper wisdom.
A trusted teacher can be really invaluable here, right, for perspective.
Absolutely, for perspective and encouragement through those tough spots.
But despite all these challenges, the harvest of the journey, the benefits, are profound.
Immensely so, starting with psychological and emotional well-being.
Spiritually engaged people consistently report lower rates of depression, anxiety, suicide, higher life satisfaction.
Yes, spirituality provides coping mechanisms, instills hope, fosters awe, gratitude, compassion.
And the benefits extend to physical well-being, too.
Definitely. Practices like meditation, prayer reduce stress markers like cortisol.
Which links to better immune function, lower blood pressure, reduced heart disease risk,
Yeah.
even increased longevity,
The research points that way. It's a powerful mind-body connection.
which leads to a key insight. Spiritual practice cultivates resilience.
Hugely important. It acts as a critical component for adapting, thriving in adversity, provides inner strength, purpose, connection to something larger, helps you weather life's storms.
And one of the biggest outcomes, finding purpose and meaning.
Yes. As you deepen your journey, you discover this abiding sense of purpose, an inner compass guiding you.
And that purpose is often outwardly focused. Service, contributing to others.
Very often, yes. It flows naturally from that inner connection.
And finally, maybe the most universal fruit, the growth of compassion.
Ah, yes. As your understanding of suffering and interconnectedness deepens, authentic empathy arises.
That quivering of the heart for others, whether it's Christian agape, Buddhist karuna, Islamic rama.
It's a deep concern for all beings, a hallmark of genuine spiritual maturation across traditions.
What's really powerful here, connecting back to the modern world, is how these documented health benefits create a bridge.
An evidence-based bridge between secular and spiritual worldviews.
Exactly. For someone maybe skeptical, like a secular humanist focused on well-being, the scientific data is compelling. reduce stress, lower depression.
It shows these practices work for human flourishing, whether you attribute it to divine grace or psychophysiological mechanisms.
Right. The why might differ, but the what, the positive impact, fosters dialogue and mutual respect.
That's a great point. It validates the value regardless of belief system.
So we've covered a lot of ground. We've come towards the end of our deep dive. The personal spiritual journey, in all its forms, really is a testament to humanity's enduring search for meaning, connection, wholeness.
Whether you frame it as seeking God, liberation, harmony, ethical purpose, it's fundamentally a process of transformation.
A movement from fragmentation to integration, unconsciousness to awareness.
Yin listens to purpose, yes.
Ultimately, it seems the spiritual journey is best understood as a journey home.
A journey home. Explain that.
A return to your authentic self, discovering your interconnected place in the larger web of existence.
So it doesn't end with a single achievement.
No, it seems it's realized in the ongoing, moment-to-moment practice, living with an open heart and awakened mind.
Integrating inner insights with everyday life. Transforming yourself and your capacity to love and serve the world.
Exactly. It's the art of living it.
Beautiful.
Now, if you're feeling inspired by all this and want to take your next step, our sources offer some great starting points.
Resources for the road ahead.
Yeah. For a foundational library, you could explore classics like the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao Te Ching, maybe Meditations by Marcus Aurelius for that Stoic view.
Or modern works like The Untethered Soul. Lots of good entry points.
And if you're looking for contemporary voices,
Oh, definitely check out influential teachers like Richard Rohr, Tara Brach, maybe Robin Wall Kimmerer for that nature connection. They offer such profound insights for today.
and for podcasts, besides this one, of course.
On Being with Krista Tippett is fantastic, or Tara Brach's own podcast for guided meditations and talks.
Good recommendations. And a big question people have, how do you find your Sangha, your spiritual community?
Finding your tribe. There are many ways. Online directories, checking local churches, temples, mosques, synagogues.
Yoga and meditation studios are often hubs too, right?
Definitely. Good places to connect locally. And websites like Tropanier or Book Retreats can help you find spiritual retreats anywhere in the world.
Can we give a concrete example? Say someone's listening in. Burgas, Bulgaria.
Okay, Burgess. You could check out OUM Yoga Studio for classes. There might be a self-realization fellowship meditation circle. Retreats like Kalala Retreat or Vitarama aren't too far.
And for specific paths like Kabbalah or Sufism, often you need wider resources.
For sure. Organizations like the Kabbalah Center or various Sufi orders offer extensive online courses, study groups. They connect seekers globally. The resources are out there.
Brilliant. Okay, as you reflect on this deep dive into the human spiritual journey, here's a final provocative thought for you to consider.
Lay it on us.
What aspect of your own inner world are you curious to explore next? And what map or tool might guide your very first step?